This is a one-speaker meeting. Please welcome our speaker tonight, Victoria.
Victoria, alcoholic. Wow, what a great meeting. Happy birthday, Frank. That's awesome. Michelle, thank you for asking me to come and share. And if you're new to Alcoholics Anonymous, how'd you get so lucky? Welcome to Alcoholics Anonymous. You have no idea how great your life can become. And you have no idea how effortless it can be to have a great life. So you just come in here, and Chapter 5 says that they rarely have seen a person fail. And apparently the original Chapter 5 said they never saw a person fail who had thoroughly followed our path, which just means that you have to do it someone else's way. And we're sober, and it's holiday season, and we are lucky. We are lucky. I am lucky. I feel lucky today and grateful. And I didn't feel that way when I got to Alcoholics Anonymous. I felt poor me and why me, and that I was a victim of some bad circumstances and some bad breaks and some bad choices. I didn't know I had a disease. I'll tell you a little bit what it used to be like, what happened, what it's like for me today, because that's the format. What it used to be like is I grew up with alcoholic parents. I had the one-upman, raging, arguing alcoholic-style parents. My father was a gambler as well, and so there was always this sense of when I came home, I didn't know if we were going on a trip around the world to pack my bags, or I got caught doing something and I was in deep, deep trouble. And I just had no idea what to expect. I'm the youngest of 5. We grew up in Beverly Hills. And it was, I mean, you know, in hindsight, hindsight's not even 20/20. I found out this year. I thought it was. It's not. But in hindsight, you know, I can give you a whole, like, retelling of what I thought I saw, and a retelling of what I thought I felt, and a retelling of what I thought was going on, but actually I had no idea. But how I interpreted things was that I was a victim, and that, when I got to AA, I was told that it's a disease of perception. And slowly but surely, kind of like when you go to the eye doctor and he says, better? A, B, better? You know, which lens? I can never tell on that one either. But I always think it's like a quiz. Like, I think it's better. I have no idea. But honestly, what happens here is that, my lens gets swapped out. And I really do get a new pair of glasses. And if I'm lucky, on a really good day, I look through the lens of what God sees. On a really good day, I see it through the eyes of what God sees. And so anyway, so I came in. I didn't come in yet. I grew up with my father was one of those raging, crash the kitchen and then come after the kids. And my mom would do nothing, or he'd come after her. And I grew up in Beverly Hills with successful, polished, educated parents, but that's what it looked like behind closed doors. And as the older kids moved out, there was fewer of us there to take the heat. So basically, I got most of the heat, and that's just what I thought. And I found drugs and alcohol when I was 12 years old, and I smoked cigarettes from age 10. I didn't know I had the personality trait of the alcoholic, which is defiance, and you can't tell me what to do, and then I'll show you. And I had that personality trait. I thought it was just a defense mechanism, that you had to be tough, or you can never let them see you sweat. And I did really well in school. I really liked school because, strangely enough, every single day the bell rang at the same time and the same teachers were there. And so it was somewhat predictable, which is something about Alcoholics Anonymous that that really helped me feel safe here when I got here. The predictability, the chapter 5, and the 7th tradition, and the chips. And if you took a chip tonight, congratulations for taking for half a cake, and 30 days. God, that 30-day chip, like, dude, you should be speaking. I swear, like, how'd you do it? Like, the first 30 days is like every day you struggle. Every single day, you struggle. And maybe you're struggling with the obsession to drink or use, but you're struggling with some obsession to do something about something, and something ain't right. And there's stuff happening, and it's pretty much up to you. And, now what? Your sponsor says go to a meeting. It doesn't make sense. You got stuff going on. Go to a meeting. So, and I had that exact same experience coming here. I would like go on and on and on and on to my sponsor, and she'd say, "Oh, you need to go to a meeting." And I'm like, "You probably just didn't hear I just had this." Are you listening to me? And it's kind of like the the riddle of AA, like the solution and the problem. Generally, there's really no connection. And it takes a while, before you just do the solution, and that's called blind faith. But it takes a while before it just there's not a good ring to it. It doesn't sound right. What do you mean take a commitment? I hate my brother. Why do I have to take a commitment? The heck? So that's kind of been, it's weird, and I don't know how it works. And I just celebrated 30 years of sobriety last month, and I have no idea how it works. But I have to tell you that it absolutely does work. But I sponsor people, they think I know how it works, right? Uh-huh. And so, so I was a classic teenage alcoholic addict. Like, what do you have? Let's go do it. Let's alcohol in the locker. It was the 70s, so big purses, so everything kind of fit in the purse. The friends of mine who drove, another place to party, what can I say? And it's like, and truly the progression of alcoholism is, and it is an allergy of the body, It's not like if I could just figure out, and by the way, figure it out is not one of the 12 steps. I used to think it was. But if I could just figure out how to get the right, like the book says, control, manage, enjoy, get the right combination, take enough speed so I can drink in a hand, and don't go before 5, start at 7, That was totally me trying to control, manage, and enjoy. Because I puked, and I hated puking, and I always puked pretty much, and had the spins, and was sick. And I don't think I ever blacked out, but I absolutely drank and drove. Absolutely drank and drove. And smoke and drove and smoke. I'm just amazed. I'm amazed. I'm amazed. And I had a really good girlfriend who was a really big partier, and I had heard she had come to Alcoholics Anonymous, and I don't want to skip over lightly. That I was running out of ideas quickly. And I have to say that it was fun, and then fun with problems, and then just problems, for sure. And mostly my life looked like dealing with the consequences of the problems rather than having a life. And I didn't get into trouble every time I drank, but every time I was in trouble, I had been drinking, for sure. And so I didn't think I was an alcoholic. I heard my girlfriend she came to AA, and that she was sober, and I thought there's no chance. No chance. There was no chance. And so I called AA on about the 12th day that I had taken a solemn vow that I wasn't going to drink or drug that day. About the 12th day, that by 11 o'clock I was a goner. I called Alcoholics Anonymous because of Tracy. Because I heard Tracy was in AA, and she was bad. She was bad. And they told me where a meeting was. Wow. And then there was a guy in the first of all, I went to this meeting. It was a Monday night meeting, and it was a round table where there was 12 people around the table. And I kind of looked in everybody's eyes around the table, and I thought, how did they get 12 people together who didn't get drunk today? Like, didn't get high today? Where'd they find 12 people? You know, like the 12 disciples. I don't know. Where did, 12 men. It was a jury. I don't know. But, so, and that was like my first, like, in the third step, it says, the key is willingness, and it opens the door just a crack. And so part of how I survived out there is, well, how I survived my household, and then how I survived out there was, I was like a total, like, know-it-all. Like, I pretty much knew everything about everything. Just asked me like I had answers, I knew stuff. And it was all like, I grew up in this Jewish family where, like, self-reliance was like, praised. Like, oh, wow, you're really, we've raised you well, you're self-reliant, And then, and intellect was like, wow, more education, better, And I come here and, like, it works totally against you. Faith has nothing to do with the mind, Faith is about the invisible. Faith is about actually not understanding the equation and doing it anyway. But to unlearn all that self-reliance, which, for me, as I inventory, as I do 4 columns, as I meet myself in that 4th column, I realize it's survival. It means I'm not going to die today if I'm self-reliant. That's how firm my grip was on, like, really having a handle on what's going on, And like, it's odd, but it's not odd. It's just, there's always a choice of 2 things in my life. It's just strange. There's always 2 men, 2 jobs. There's always 2, And thank God I have 2 kids, but I don't have to choose. But so I'm always running it through the computer to make the choice. The pro and con list. It's like all old ways, rather than to sit quietly and ask for His wisdom and His inspiration. And follow the guidance, But how do I get quiet enough is I literally have to, I have to do the work here. I have to do the steps here. I have to do the inventory here so that I can surrender, as the book says, hundreds of forms of fear. Because fear is what keeps me in the mind. Fear is what keeps me thinking. Fear is what allows me to understand the experience but not really have an experience. And when you come from an alcoholic family, you move to numb, and then you're operating, chin up, which is fine, but not if you're waking up, and not if you have the experience of, like, being a dry tea bag in the wonderful, bath of Alcoholics Anonymous, that you start to slowly thaw here, and you're in a meeting and you have no idea you had a great day, and you're feeling ever so sad. You have no idea, but you had a great day, and that doesn't line up for you. And yet the feelings are starting to express, and it's safe here first. And then it's safe while you're in the moment with the person that you're having the feeling with. Gee, and that takes a long, long time. Like, it happened last week, I think. But, no sooner than that. Just don't push it. But so, for me, it's been, and it still is, a process of this uncover, discover, and discard. And first I'm told, like, I have resentments, and I'm like, pretty much I'm pissed at everyone, but I don't think I have any resentments. And then I'm told that resentments are like I'm refeeling a situation over and over and over again. And that's the same as figuring it out, trying to get 5 more minutes and get the angle, and then I'll know exactly how to play it safe, because that's all the angle I really want is the sure thing and the safe bet. I don't want the angle for, like, wonderful prosperity. Don't give me that angle. But I just want to look good and be safe, And that's what I would have for myself. but that's not what God has planned. You know, he's got like the well, my experience has been, as I'm able to let go enough to have the experience, you know, I'm absolutely overpaid here. I'm absolutely overpaid. You know, Monday, I have an 18-and-a-half-year-old son. He's moving to Boulder in a couple weeks to go to college. And Monday, I'm saying to him, you know, I have these two jobs. I'm in this job, and I'm in this other job that wants to hire me, and I have these two things. I have anxiety about making this choice. And he said, it's 7 o'clock at night. He said, do you have to choose right now? I'm like, no. And he said, well, maybe more information will come tomorrow. Why don't you just take it a day at a time? And I'm like, where are you? Where'd you just come from? Where did you learn this stuff? He says, well, you know, I do it all the time, and it seems to work. And so it's like grasshopper, go to college, you know. I am so proud. Like, he doesn't need one more tool. I don't care if he fails. It's expensive, but I don't care, you know. Seriously. I mean, you guys raised that boy. You did a really good job. And how he learned this was, I'm on the phone with the sponsee. He didn't ask me a question that had to do with taking it a day at a time ever in his life. Or, well, maybe more information will come in. And if really God operates in the now, and if really the moment is all we really have, really, then we're 100% prepared for this particular moment right here, right now. 100%. You know, we're 100% staffed. We're 100% funded for this moment right here, right now. And so as I slow down enough, as I inventory enough, as I surrender fear enough to be in this exact moment, then I realize all moments are like this moment. And that if, like, I remember when my parents were sick, I lost my mom last year, and I lost my dad 3 years ago. And I remember when they were getting sick, and I started to get afraid of, I'm not going to know what to do. And so for me, it looks, because I'm sober a while, you know, I can function like just flawlessly and be super agitated on the inside, but I'm not acting out, and I'm not crazy, and I don't need to make an amends because I'm out of control because I have fear. And so for me, I do 4 columns pretty much every 3 or 4 days. Now, the book tells me it's a daily inventory. Oh, well, I'll get there when I'm maybe 50 years sober. What do you think? You think I have a shot? Okay. And so I write the person's name, you know, what happened, the area it affects, and the book tells me that I have, you know, 5 natural instincts for a place in society, for emotional security, financial security, and my sex relation. And when there's fear around having those things, that creates my defects of character. And so for me, my 4th column is about what I'm afraid of not getting or afraid of losing. And then as I grow this this conscious contact, simultaneously I'm uncovering, discovering, and discarding my fears. And so I say, God, if it is your will and your wish and your path that I don't get this, or that I lose that, like in the case of my father being ill and dying, and my feeling afraid I wouldn't be prepared, you know, I became willing, if it was God's will, that I wasn't prepared when my father died, if that's what he would have for me. I also discovered that you can't outrun God's will, so why not just like go with that flow? I also noticed that sober alcoholics seem to move up the ladder a lot in life. People tend to start like trusting us, and then they start liking us, and who wants that? But they do. And then all of a sudden you have this life you could never have maneuvered yourself, you know, and never have tricked your way into yourself. And it happens mostly while you're being of service in Alcoholics Anonymous, behind your back. And it happens while you're sleeping and saying yes to an AA request. Well, God gussies up, you know, all that other stuff. I've just found it to be true. I've just found it to be true. So I say to God, I'm willing if it is your plan. I'm not prepared. when my father is sick, to make a decision, or when my father dies, to do, I don't know what you have to be prepared for. A guy's passing. It's like it's all good, you know? And it was all good. And it was all good with my mother. I mean, it was all good. And I have to say that, that 17 years ago, I was in a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. Now, I came into AA, well into AA, still blaming my parents. They were really powerful. They had a lot of money, and they, whatever. They demanded their 5 kids be loyal to them, and we all, like, wonderful, loyal alcoholic children, adult children of alcoholics. We stayed loyal to them, but I resented them well into AA and blamed them well into AA. Now, when I got here, I was 21, so that's pretty par for the course. But I was still doing it into my late 20s, and I heard this woman share. I was in a meeting, like a women's meeting, not this many people, but almost this many people, and I was sitting there, and this woman shared over there. And she talked about that her mother had been ill, and this is the medicine of AA, just so you know. It's frickin' medicine. And how it's administered is so gentle. So she's sharing that her mother had been ill and in the hospital, and she had visited her regularly. And every time she visited her, her mother was true to form, critical, judgmental. She told her mother she wanted to adopt a baby. She was a single mom. And her mother told her, that's such a bad idea. And this is her retelling the story. And then she said she went to visit her on her final days. And when she got there, her mother had died an hour before. And so when she walked into the room, there was just a sheet covering her mother. And she sat in that room with the sheet covering this woman. And she said every resentment and judgment she had about this woman was gone in that moment. And all she experienced was that her mother actually really cared about her. And like her mother had this sewing kit, and like she would take the thimble and put it on her finger and just know that her mother had had it on her finger, and just felt real kinship toward her mother. And I made a decision in that meeting that if that was going to be my experience after my parents died, that all the resentments would be gone and I would just have the sentiment. That why couldn't I just have the sentiment now? And I started from that day forward with the sentiment of that I got the best of both of my parents. I have the best qualities of both of my parents. And as I do this inventory, and as I find out what I'm afraid of not getting or afraid of losing, and I surrender it, I have compassion for myself that I have fears. And then that's transferred to you. I can see the fear in you that motivates you to make the choices that you make. And so I have compassion. I don't judge your behavior. So a man cuts me off on the freeway. He's probably scared he's losing his job. He's afraid. Or he's, it has nothing to do with me. And so looking at that fourth column connects me to the planet Earth and the human race, and connected me again to my parents, reconnected me to my parents. So as I journey back to self and self-acceptance and truly become self-love and truly become self-respect and then become self-esteem, I have so much self-acceptance. I was talking with a friend, and he's like this Harvard guy, and he's like, how I play the game of life now is like I'm pretty much, we play cards, so I'm pretty much all kings in every area of my life. I'm a king, and I said, well, I got a couple aces, but pretty much nines and jacks is how I run, But the thing is that that's all good, like. It's all good, the long, the short, it's all freaking good. And that's like total self-acceptance. And it works through doing these inventories, and then the self-compassion. Like I don't really fault anyone who has fear. I get it. It's tough. It's tough, and it's got a life of its own. and it has propulsion, this thing called fear. And so I don't fault anyone, any of their actions. And so that started my journey to do forgiveness meditation for pretty much, as I inventory, I realized all of the fears come from the original pain givers, which were my original experience as a child growing up with alcoholic parents. And even if I was a child growing up with absolutely the cleavers, I'd still have fear and resentments and a need to forgive. And so what happens, what I've noticed is as people, situations come in my life that I have trouble with, it's not conditions, it's always me. And so if it's always me, I can journey back to what's my self-centered fear, and then why is that familiar, and then whom do I need to actually forgive for the original dynamic of that. And it's never the situation in my life, it's always something from my past. And my sponsor, who's been my sponsor for 29 and a half years, Beverly, I'm still, deciding whether I'm going to keep her, but, right now we're good. I mean, she said good stuff on the phone today, so I'm keeping her. But anyway, right? Don't we want to fire our sponsor? Oh, they're not getting it. I need someone way more like me. Sure, that would be a nightmare. No more mirrors in my life, please. I can't stand that. But anyway, so she taught me how to do 14-day forgiveness meditation, and she had me read Freedom from Bondage in the Big Book, which is the second to last story of the stories. And it's actually the story where it talks about praying for someone for 14 days if you have a resentment. And she just put a little spin on it and created a forgiveness meditation that you do for someone for 14 days. And you put the person's face in your heart, in your mind's eye, and you ask God to help you forgive this person with your heart and not with your head. And then you let it go. It just dissolves. And you do it for 14 days. And whether you remember to do it for 6 days, you're done after 14 days. You're done until the next messenger arrives. And then you go back. And then I've gone back and done the work. And I'd have to say I've done 30 for my mother and 45 for my father over the years. Had a wonderful relationship with my parents, up until the day they died. Wonderful. I was a loving daughter, and I was the only copy of the Big Book, they ever read, so they got a good look. One of our traditions talks about that we represent wherever we are. We represent AA wherever we are, in line at the store, at work, at the dinner table, we represent. And I honestly believe, the mystery and the magic of how God works, we don't know whose life we're saving by representing AA in taking the high road, and I always say, why do I have to be the one? And then my sponsor says, the one with the tools does the work, and babe, you got the tools. I'm like, can I just trade them back or something? Can I just be dumb this time? But, when we do the right thing, we bring everybody else along. And that's what we're really, with the unity, that's what we're attempting to do here is, bring everybody else along. This is totally a we program. I got situations in my life right now where I might lose my house. I keep saying that, but I probably won't. And everything you say is a prayer. And I'm not losing my house, but could be. No. And I'm all good. I'm in the middle of AA. I go to 4 meetings a week, the same 4 meetings every single week. And I sponsor 7 women. And I'm sponsored by the same woman who's sponsored by the same woman. When she got sober, her sponsor's been her sponsor 33 years. And if I get to move, if that's the plan, guess what? you're all coming over to help me move. I mean, I ain't doing it alone, that's for sure. I ain't going broke alone. I ain't getting rich alone. We're going to all do this thing together, you know. And that's really the good news, you know. I have a lot of peace around it, you know. This is, you know, in the 12 and 12, it talks about serenity in the face of calamity. Well, it's serenity in the face of the hallway, serenity in the face of the unresolved frickin' problem. You know, it's serenity in the face of not knowing, you know, and that's what we're promised here, you know, is that serenity in the face of. And you can get a God of your very own that just solves your alcohol and drug problem. That's all good. That's the book says that. But how about one that, you know, manages the whole deal, you know? And that's, you know, that's the God I have nurtured and developed here. And I kind of look at it like two things happening simultaneously. You know, I'm growing up emotionally and I'm developing a conscious contact. And I have a spiritual discipline. I'm a big meditator. I've been meditating since I'm 10 years sober, so I've been meditating for 20 years. And I've been meditating consistently the same time every single day for 5 years. You know, I think that has single-handedly made everything so easy, so much easier, you know, so much easier. I read spiritual literature. I get together with a meditation group on Sunday nights. And I have a spiritual community. I live in the South Bay in Hermosa Beach that I'm very connected to, and when two or more are gathered, you know. And, you know, I'm not religious, but I am, I greatly have the experience from an understanding of a God, from a belief of a God, to an actual experience of the presence. And I think that's what meditation took it from my mind into my soul, absolutely. And you know what? There's a lot of variables and a lot of unknowns, and a lot of joy and a lot of riches. And I just live the way I live just for today. You know, I write, I read, I attend meetings, I reach out. I'm so happy, joyous, and free, you know. And I don't know when in my sobriety I was able to just absolutely laugh at myself. But I know people with long-term sobriety, they're laughing at themselves. They're laughing at how serious they are about things, and they're not so serious anymore. And I just prefer life just to get the, you know, just to get the punchline, you know, and to be good to my fellows and to be good to myself, and to be willing every single day to learn a new thing or to do it a different way or be completely wrong about this whole thing, you know. 10 of, is that what you said? God bless you. Thanks for having me. Felt great.